All right, guys, so today we're talking about M60, M62, and M62TU. We're going to show you how to fix these cars. Now, we're going to start off with no crank, no start. This is the most common one on this. Let's hop into it right now. No crank, no start's a little bit shorter list. Now, I've been down a few of these engines. The number one thing you want to do, the easiest thing you could do, is whenever you have that problem, if you have a different key, try that key. Start with that. That's the fastest thing you could do. The next thing is, depends on which car it's on, whether it's X5, whether it's E39, etc. E39, whenever you go to check the fuse by the ECU, I'll show you where that's at. All right. Oh, also there's the tires for the 1600. We'll be doing videos on that car pretty soon too, in case you guys are wondering. E39, passenger side, under the air filter housing, cabin air filter housing, there's a white lid you got to take off. Has some Allen bolts in it. And the ECU's in there. The transmission computer's in there. And this is in there also. Oh, why would you even focus, right? Why would you even focus? So that's in there. This is a 5-fuse holder. A lot of times you have any kind of coil pack problem, any problem at all, it'll pop one of the fuses in here and the car will not start. Now, to get this open, the little top on it just slides. Oh, that was super easy. Usually it's not that easy. You just pain in the ass. You can see all 5 fuses in there. So check those first. You do have to take this little module out to get the fuses out. So that has a little clip, you pop it out and do that. And a lot of times that's crank but no start, but that could also be no crank, no start, right? You follow me here? I would say, as a general rule of thumb, a bad coil pack will not cause a no start situation unless you have multiple bad coil packs. So we're going to chalk that up to rough cold start, right? The next thing, no crank, no start, it could be your starter, right? It could be the starter fuse. We've had a few E53s with the starter fuse issue. That green one used to have, it had that problem. Also on these engines, I'll try to insert a video clip in here somewhere. There is a wire that goes from the alternator that goes over the top of the engine that has a fusible link. And I've had that blow before for absolutely no reason at all. Pop that fusible link. I'll see if I can find that clip and put it in here for you guys. I made a video about that a long time ago. That was a good one. That even took me a while to figure that one out. So look out for that. Any other kind of blown fuse, if you first get a car, right away it has no crank, no start, or crank but no start, go after the fuses. You know, see if somebody's stuck something wrong somewhere, something's fallen out, something's happened. If things don't work on the car, also go after all the fuses. The best way to do that, you could kind of look in there and see if they're blowing. If you unhook the battery and just go one at a time, it sucks because it's in the glove compartment. Every time I buy a car, I always go down the row and make sure there's no shady fuse operation going on. We did it with the M5, and we found all kinds of weird stuff going on there. But after we did that, a lot of stuff worked, right? Last 2 things on the crank but no start would be fuel pump. You know, these cars, all the fuel pumps are under the back seat, whether it's an X5 or E39. Pretty easy to get to. A lot of times you have to actually crank the engine. You can't just turn the key on and hear it prime. You have to actually crank it. The best way to do that, pop the back seat up, the bottom of the back seat, they just pop out. Have somebody else go back there and listen while you crank it and see if you can hear it run. If nothing else, take the access panel off, put your hand on top of the pump, have somebody crank it, make sure it's running, right? Also, there's hose problems too. For instance, the hose, the rubber piece that goes from the pump up to the unit itself, that could rot off, that could break off and cause all kinds of problems that it's pumping, but it's not getting to the engine, right? You have that. The next one, a really good one, mass airflow. Just like the M54s, these also suffer with bad mass airflow issues. It's the same premise on the sensor, so you're back to, it could be crank but no start. It could be crank but start, really bad idle. It can be runs and dries for a little bit and all of a sudden it just dies and won't restart. That could be mass airflow. very rare on M62TU or any of these V8 engines do we ever see a bad crank sensor bad enough to where it won't start, right? The 6-cylinder cars get like a blister on there. It changes the timing enough, it won't start. There you go. Also, the very last thing, and we're going to hop over to runs, but cold start, rough, right? Rough cold start. Okay, so let's go back to this. We're going to go to the obvious engine timing, right? If you bought one of these, it's had the timing chain done, the guide's done, chances are if you're driving right now, it's been done, or you won't be driving it long. Had problems in the past of these cars spinning the nut loose on the camshaft and losing timing. Now, usually that doesn't crash the valves and the pistons, but it very well can. So watch out for that. If you're getting timing codes and it stumbles around a little bit, won't actually start, or will start and die, take the camshaft sensor out, stick your finger in the hole, and see if the little wheel is loose, see if the nut's loose. So that's easy to do on that. We'll hop over real quick to rough cold start. We have some props here for that. And we have the CCV valve, or the casing to it, on the back of the intake manifold. So after you've gone through your coil packs, so you have rough cold start. To start off with, if you get check engine light for 1 cylinder, you know it's a coil pack or a spark plug, or there's oil down in the valley and getting on the spark plug and making it misfire, right? This is the next thing. These things are real bad about rupturing. This has a diaphragm, a cap that clicks on the back of here, a round cap that has a diaphragm. That's bad about getting a rip in it. These are really bad about it, especially in freezing weather. And that'll cause a screeching sound. That'll make it run like total crap. And I've seen that many times. Also, I'll bring you in here a little closer. There's little vacuum ports. What am I doing? Putting it up to the viewfinder instead of the camera. There's little vacuum ports in the back of there. This one has a shroud over the side of it, so it's harder to break it off. It's an updated one. A lot of these don't have the shroud over it, and it'll actually break the nipple off, and you won't notice it. That's another one. I've even seen these broken off, which I don't know how the hell you break that off, but I've seen it happen. Or also this grommet that goes around that fitting will be getting all cracked and jacked up, right? These don't suffer with the throttle body boot problem. They have like a more of a plastic boot, and they seem to not have an issue with that. They do have an issue with the boot getting worn and popping off the throttle body. I've seen that many, many times. These also have a problem with the camshaft sensors themselves. I've seen in many of them that the wire gets kind of chafed where it goes into the sensor itself. You know, these have leads on the end of the sensor, and for some reason it chafes there and it shorts out, causes a problem. That's not as common though. If you're getting timing codes, chances are it's timing chain guide's going, or somebody didn't retime it right after it's been apart. Also, low oil pressure. If your oil filter is twisted, if you have not changed oil in forever, if it's a little bit low, it won't want to run. The pressure sensor will actually try to shut the engine off or keep it from running. Had that a few times. 6-cylinder cars do that a little bit. If you're lucky, they'll do that a little bit. So if you notice any of the oil light flickering red, you need to check your oil right away. I've seen the screens in the bottom of the pickup being stopped up with timing chain guides and the engine not even making any noise. So that's also a good time to check out the state of your timing chain guides. Pull the oil filter out, pick it up, look at it. Is there particles of chain guides stuck in the filter? There you go. So there's a lot to this one. It's not too much different than the other engine. I no longer buy these engines, and I'm going to tell you exactly why real quick. We're getting long on time, I know. These engines are in cars that aren't worth a lot of money. That's the sad truth about it. A 540 E39, if it's an 03 with in-sport bumpers, it brings quite a bit, right? 6-speed. Fortunately, that's the only one. The 540, it might bring 3 or 4 grand if it's really good, but if you have to do timing chain guides, and what we found out as time goes on, you have to buy the Vanos units. We've had so many problems by not replacing those. Once the chain guides get altered those units, you just have to replace them. They're like $450. So you run into a lot of money by the time you buy all the guides, by the time you buy the associated gaskets for it, the valve cover gaskets, the front timing chain cover gaskets. The timing tools are very expensive. They're very hard to find. You have to use the German Auto Solution tools. The cheap Chinese ones off eBay, well, they'll work, but your check engine light will permanently be on. And then you're gonna have problems if you had to get it smogged, right? So just watch out for that. If the cars were worth 10 grand, 12 grand, I would go buy another one to do it. But you just gotta weigh out, it doesn't make sense. The X5s are plagued with door handle issues, window regulator issues, all kinds of other bizarre things, front dry shaft stripping out, you know, all that stuff, right? So that's why I let them go. A lot of you guys have them on here. That's cool. Just me personally, I put my time in on the M62TU, let me tell you. I've done my time. But that's going to be it, guys. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. We'll see you very soon.